resolving common problems in units, common problems and things you've seen. So let me just quickly ask, let's see, this is Alvin, Rick, and Chad, and this is a
AJ.
Okay, so are you all unit commissioners? Let me ask you, are you all unit commissioners? What are you?
Assistant Scoutmaster.
Assistant Scoutmaster?
Unit Commissioner.
Unit Commissioner? Unit Commissioner? Unit Commissioner. Okay, so this is great for you to come in as any, if you're not out, no, even if you're not a unit commissioner. And so I'm not going to resolve all the issues that we have, and neither am I going to be able to tell you the answers to everything, but we're going to try to get you focused. Okay, the objectives here is we need to identify the strengths and needs of units. And so that's what we'll be looking at here. And we need to be able to identify early warning signals that there's problems coming up, and maybe identify some ways that we can help units solve their problems. So those are the three objectives of this course. So before we begin, I gave you out the commissioner core concepts. If you're a commissioner, I've been at this game a long time, but these are the things that I've lived by, because when you set priorities as a commissioner, whether an admin commissioner, like a district commissioner or ADC, or whether a roundtable, or whether a unit commissioner, you ought to be living by these concepts. So if you look down here on objectives, we're working on objectives 2 and 3, which is contacting units, capturing in commissioner tools their strengths, needs, and a unit service plan that enables continuing improvement. That's 1. And then a 3, linking unit needs to district operating committees and resources. So if you're wondering what we're doing here today, we're working on numbers 2 and 3 of these objectives. So if you say, Perkins, what are you doing up there? We're working on number 2 and 3. All right. Let me just approach a couple of things here for you. Number 1, this class is not to show you how to be Mr. Nice Guy. If I'm a brand new unit commissioner, and you guys have all been this, I'm a brand new unit commissioner, and here's my cub master. There ought to be, I think there's another class on how to contact units, but between the two of us here, before we can ever get into any of these things, tell me some things that must exist between me and my cub master here.
You better have some communication.
Communicate, and how do we get that going?
Give them a call on the phone.
Phone calls, emails. How about can I come and visit with you?
Yeah.
That's the best, face to face.
Don't surprise them though, because commissioners are scary.
So in all these scenarios and things we're going to address today, I would hope that you realize that I just can't walk in and say, hi, Rick, I'm your new commissioner, away we go. So you have to establish a rapport, and that might take weeks or months before he will even begin to open up to me and that sort of thing. So we'll make some assumptions here that he and I have some kind of a working good relationship, or in these scenarios that you have a pretty good relationship with the committee chair, the COR, cub master, the den leaders, or if you're working with the scouts, the scoutmaster. So make sure that you understand that. And this class is not the class that we're going to talk about how to establish that rapport. We're looking for unit problems, and some of those problems may relate to that, our inability to communicate. That may be some of them here. So with that in mind, let's talk quickly about district operating committees. Have you ever worked on a district besides, anybody here work on a district? How about you, Alvin?
Yes.
What did you do there?
I was committee at large.
Okay. So at the district level, they have a program side, which the program side covers what? Camporees, camping, Order of the Arrow.
Roundtable.
The roundtable would come under the commissioners. So the program side would be mostly the outdoor stuff, anything to do with the outdoor, or if it's with the Cubs, they may have a district Pinewood derbies and that sort of thing. They have the finance guy. He's the guy who worries about raising money and helping the packs and troops come up with fundraising things. They have, see, we have finance. What else we got?
Membership.
Membership. If you have a membership committee, they're the people who help not only do the rechartering, the district rechartering, but they also do
Recruiting.
recruiting and getting into, I used to be able to get into the schools. I don't know if we do that anymore, but you get around and getting that. So we have finance, membership, program. What else? Everybody remember? My mind just went blank for a second there. What?
Attention.
Yeah, that's part of membership. So, in addition to that, we have experts out there who know all kinds of things. In the district, we're supposed to anyway. So if I was a unit commissioner, and I know that you may be in another, you may be a commissioner in another area, but you really know lots about first aid, or he knows lots about shooting, or you know a lot about winter camping, I would tap into you and get that information from you. That's how it works. So we share, we network. So we not only network with the district committee, but we also network with other commissioners or so he's assistant scoutmaster, but I also happen to know that he's an expert on Indian lore or whatever it is, that I would tap into him and say, hey, can you come and help? And they're working on Indian lore merit badge or whatever. So I should be able to tap into that. If I didn't know that, I'm a unit commissioner and I go back to say, you as a district commissioner, he might know where the resources are that I didn't know. So what I'm trying to get to you is that me as a unit commissioner, I do not have all the, I don't know everything. But if I get back to the district commissioner, then he can talk to the DE or the district chairman, that's called the district key 3. Somewhere out there, they know what's going on and they can grab something, send it down to troop, whatever it is, troop 5, and we'll get something going here. Okay, that's the premise that we're working on here today. So I was counting on 8 people in here. So we're gonna see how this works, this little game I got for you. So this is, these are comments by unit leaders and or district chairman, or excuse me, unit chairman or COR. These are positive comments. And what I'm gonna have you do, I'm gonna hold up the negative comment and you are gonna tell me which one of these it goes to. So let's try this.
Match it up, huh?
I had to give each of you 3 because I had 12 of these. I thought I was gonna have 8 or 9 people in here. I think when they found out I'm teaching the class, they said, hey, Bert, we're gonna go learn something else. What do you think?
Got it here.
All right, here. All right, here we go. You got 3 apiece. All right. Let's see. How we're gonna do this is I will show this to you and read it to you. And then if it matches something, this is a negative comment. If they match up to your positive comment, you raise your hand and read it to me. The comment here is, during visits, our commissioner tends to take over our meetings. During visits, our commissioner tends to take over our meetings. Did that match up with any of your positive comments? We'll find out because I'll come back in a little while. Okay, here's a comment from a unit leader. I'm fresh out of ideas and don't know what to do.
We get good ideas.
Here's a negative comment. I didn't know the camporee changed. I didn't know the camporee changed. Somebody's got
It'd probably be like this. I'd say our commissioner shared district events.
here we go. That
might be
matches
of
up.
interest.
Okay, very good. All right, we're getting there. They show up without notice. They being the unit
I got it
commissioner.
right here. I always send an email before they visit.
Pass that back. Good, we're matching that up. Okay, here's one. I cannot depend upon my commissioner.
They keep the word.
It's pretty close. That may be it. Let's see if that happens. All right. Commissioner? What's a commissioner?
That's what I got when I started this role.
Nobody finds anything with that? All right, we'll carry on that. Here's one. Our den leaders don't know how to get training for their position. All right. That match up with anybody? Our den leaders don't know how to get,
They provide important information?
well, we'll see.
Maybe not?
Let's see, let's hang on to that. Roundtable, what's that?
Received a reminder of the roundtable meeting with the program that we discussed.
There you go. I think that's good. There's another one. Maybe this matches up. I might match up with the one you had. I don't know anything about district or council events. That may have been
Well,
another
that's
one.
the other, this shared district events that might be of interest to our unit.
Well,
that
okay,
could
we
be-
got two of them there. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
Okay, I got an email about an assessment. What's that? Anybody got that?
Well, this would be that our commissioner visited with our key three and helped us come up with a great action plan.
I don't think, no, that's not it. We'll come back. Okay, I asked for an information and they never got back to me.
They provide important information.
What's that? What have you got?
My question was followed up 2 days.
Oh, I don't know, which one?
That might be it. I think that's it. Here's another one. This reminds me of somebody. I wish they'd get off my back.
Great support. I don't know what I'd do without them.
I might be. Let's throw it at it. Ah, there we go.
This is a possible alternative. They are always there if needed.
That might be it too. Here's another one. This is the one I'm gonna go back to. I got an email about an assessment. What's that? Well, let's try this. Read one of these and let's see if we can match up.
Our commissioner provides useful input when asked during visits.
Okay.
And I think that could relate to they take over our meetings.
Oh, yeah.
So we are, is our commissioner takes over our meetings. Oh, we gotta be careful of that. Okay, read one of those to me.
Our commissioner linked us up with our district training chair.
He linked you up with, okay, you got all yours, Matt. You got one more?
They provide important information.
Okay, there you go.
All right.
You got one here?
Our commissioner visited with our key three and helped us come up with a great action plan.
Okay. I think that might go with the assessment. I don't know what an assessment is. What's that? Because assessment goes with that.
That's what I thought.
The last one you got?
They are always there if needed.
All right, Commissioner. What's a commissioner?
Those go well together.
Okay. You can keep those cards. I don't need them anymore. I don't want to look at them again. I got another one here. So we're going to talk about this. So I'm going to throw these to you, and then I want your ideas about you as a unit commissioner, who you might bring in or who you might refer this person to. Remember, if you refer somebody, if Rick refers you to me and I happen to be the district finance guy, and you just call me out of this clear blue sky, what do you want? So what should happen if Rick refers you to me, the district finance guy?
Middleman the conversation, get you up to speed about what's going on. That way it's not the first contact.
Absolutely. It's the same way we do with setting kids up to contact adults, I would hope, except for maybe merit badge counselors. So if I was gonna set a kid up to talk to an adult, I always call the adult first and say, Billy's gonna contact you about taking the shotgun shooting. Make sure you're prepared. It's okay. Here we go. Low amount of money in the troop account. Who would we kind of refer this person to? And
Finance committee at the
I'm sorry?
district finance.
Yeah, but who with the unit, the troop or the pack? Who?
Should be a committee member over that.
Very good. So
Finance
we,
committee, yeah.
okay, so who would we talk to? If I'm talking to the PAC committee, who in the PAC committee as a unit commissioner would I talk to about this?
Fundraising chairperson.
The what?
Fundraising chairperson.
I can.
I go through the unit chairman.
Okay, so I would, how about,
Say that they'd be to talk to the key three first. That's
Yeah.
usually I try to start with the key three.
Key three of the unit.
Key three of the
Yeah.
unit and the committee chair. And because they run the unit, I don't run it. And
That's
I wouldn't
right.
want to bypass them, you learn really quick in the Army that you don't bypass your chain of command. That's a bad thing.
So rather than the finance committee, you go through the
I
committee
get the committee chair, and then
Yeah.
if they're like, hey, let's bring in Joe or Jill or whoever, then we're great, I think.
Okay, so we get the PAC committee and the key three involved, maybe the COR and the PAC. And then they say, well, you go ahead and talk to Todd. And then I have their permission to talk to Todd. And then I can say, hey, let me get a hold of Bert, a finance guy who works at the bank. All right, so we got to do this right, or we can alienate people real fast. Spot like that, the commissioner takes over.
And the other thing I'd say in that is you've got to have the key threes buy-in. I mean, ultimately, it's their plan. When you make a unit service plan, it's their plan. You're helping them implement the goals of the plan. Because if it's my plan, it'll never work.
This is a key thing Rick has brought up. Look, you and I can identify a problem real fast. It's helping the unit thinking that it's their solution. Just like I was telling you, in my current unit, I have issues. Committee rarely meets. The committee just doesn't meet, like my troop committee rarely meets. What do I do as a unit commissioner? Now, I know Rick knows the answer. You guys got answers back here?
Would you go to the committee chair and say, how can I do to help you with your committee meetings?
Yeah, or you can, I always ask them questions, which is, how's your committee meeting going?
When's the last time
We
you,
haven't met since December, Mike.
when are you meeting next time?
Hey, can I come to your meeting?
A great way to start, I started with the units, brand new unit, don't know, it's like, when is your next committee meeting? I'd like to attend.
There you go. That puts them on the spot, doesn't it?
It does, and if it's like, well, we don't really have one scheduled, that tells you a whole story right there.
But then you can say, how can I help you get this started?
Exactly.
All right. So you go to the COR or the troop chairman or committee chairman, and that's how you're gonna, by asking questions but do we say, about time to get it going? I'd hope not. Remember,
Honestly,
we're making assumptions here that you know these people pretty well and they trust you. You're gonna say something?
you gotta be positive in your relationship with them.
Very good. Okay, now this happens to be November right now, and unit charter renewal is coming up. Unit charter renewal is late and incomplete, so it's now December, and they turn it into you. They're supposed to do on 30 November. I guess the final one is end of December, but it's incomplete and it's late. Now, who do we talk to?
At the committee chair, because they're gonna have somebody on the committee allegedly that's responsible for renewing the charter.
What would you say, Rick?
So any one of the key three, ultimately the core COR is responsible for a big chunk of that. And so I think the key three, you start with them. How can I help? That's again, the stepping on the toes and stuff. What can I help? Like you said, how can I help you make that? I'll run in the applications to people, whatever we can do.
So like you said, the troop committee chairman, I think you could get with the committee chairman and say, hey, can you get the K3 together and let's talk? So there you go. All right.
And then if they do have someone, then you can work with them directly. Yeah.
The troop has a small or little outdoor program and with few campouts.
Oh, we talked about that on our way too.
What do you think, guys? I mean, the scoutmaster, he's responsible for the program, but
You're back to that,
But he doesn't run the program.
back to that committee, because the committee,
Committee's the one that should.
yeah, the troop. So anyway,
He runs the program, the committee runs everything.
so let me ask you, who does the scout, I'm talking about scoutmaster here. I imagine it's a scoutmaster. Who does scoutmaster work for? In the troop? I mean, who does he work for? I mean, according to the line of authority, who does he work for? He works
he works
for
for the
the,
committee.
he works for the committee chairman,
The COR appoints the committee.
and the committee chairman works for the COR. So who would you go to on this, you think? You can go to the scoutmaster, you could, and you could, if you go to the committee chair about this, what's gonna maybe happen to your relationship with that scoutmaster?
Think you'll feel sabotaged?
Huh?
Do you think the scoutmaster might feel sabotaged if we did that?
I don't know. That's why I bring this up because you try to gotta have a good relationship, not only with all of the members of the key three. And it depends on how well you know him. So to be thinking of how you'd approach this. You could again ask questions. Hey, can I invite me in your next camp out? Well, Mark, it's not gonna be till November and it happens to be May, so. So there you go. Be thinking about how you would solve this, because if you go beyond the scoutmaster, you could sabotage your relationships because you've gone over his head. And if you just go to the scoutmaster, then the troop committee chair might think, hey, he comes through me, I'm his boss. So again, you got relationships that you have to know. If you don't know the troop well, you don't know the scoutmaster as the troop committee chair, it's about time to get to know him better. Then you'll know whose feet not to step on or toes to step on. Few new members recruited, so you go there and they haven't recruited a new kid in since a year ago. What do you think? Whose responsibility? Is that the scoutmaster or is that the committee?
Well,
What do you
depends on why
think?
they're not recruited. Depends on why they're not recruited.
Very good.
If they're not recruited because the program isn't there to bring them in, then it falls under the program area. Or is it just the recruiting isn't happening? Then maybe it's the committee, they're not having the fall, the fall festival or a spring invite. So it really could depend.
You're an assistant scoutmaster. Are you getting enough members in your troop, you think?
We're still growing. We're not growing exceptionally fast.
So who's the best recruiters you have?
Scouts.
Scouts.
And we also, when we do quite a few flag ceremonies and other service projects, and we try to make ourselves known and invite people at those events. The troop, we have a rural troop as well. And they're trying to grow, and so we try to assist them.
So this is a real problem, guys, in our council. It's a real problem. And so this is not hypothetical, this is real. So this is a problem that we need to address. You as unit commissioners need to address, excuse me, too much hamburger. All right.
We're always looking for suggestions.
Kids are the best recruiters and they will recruit. So think back, who recruited you into scouting when you were 11 or 12? It was my buddy recruited me into scouting in Canada. I was a Canadian and British scout. It's my buddies recruited me into the scouts. As a kid in America, I was in BSA. It was my buddy. He said, hey, come on out. We're going camping next week. You want to go? We're gonna. And then, oh, boy, I don't want to miss that one. I didn't miss it. Went to Balmoral State Park and went swimming in the, whatever it was. All right, few leaders trained. This is a real problem. Only 32% of the leaders in our council are trained. 32%. That means one of you, two of you in this room are not trained. So that's true, but that's the fact of life. That is a fact of life. I know, because I did this up until 2 months ago. I kept.
Here's the ones that are trained.
So who do I go to on this?
P3.
Yeah.
Very good. Mostly, if if you're not being trained, it's time to get the key three involved. All scouts work together on rank advancement. This is my troop. So anyway, this is the troop I'm a committee in. They all move along. Either they don't move along or they move along. They just.
Those individuals, they don't do stuff, they just.
Oh, no, they move along. So who's ramrod in it that they do this? Is it the troop? Is it the committee or is it the scoutmasters that ramrod in this?
I think I talked to the scoutmaster on.
I would.
Yeah.
And you do have an advancement person at the count, or you should have an advancement person in the
The committee, right.
committee,
But they're not the one that needs to push the.
but who knows? And along with that, they move along at snail's pace altogether. There's little advancement. They're all progressing to second and they're all progressing to tenderfoot or whatever. So again, who is the same, that'll be the same person.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, you have a Scoutmasters Conference, then where do every scout have to go before they get advanced on?
Board of review
And who runs the board review?
committee.
Committee.
All right, so it isn't just the Scoutmaster, it's who? Yeah. But when you get right down to it, all these questions we have here, by and large, they all go to who? The key three, with a couple of exceptions. I want you to think about that because sometimes it's hard to get those key three together, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, you might get one, you might get the key two or the key one. Many troops have the key one.
The COR seems to think that they just, there's something, a name on a piece of paper, they don't have to show up and do anything.
They'll have to sign it once a year when it's returned. Yeah.
Okay, we don't have 8 people here today. We're gonna take on a scenario. I was gonna divide this up. 4 do the Cub Pack, 4 do the Scout Troop. How many, we have a Cub Pack and a Scout Troop. We only have time for one. Which one do you want to do, the Cub Pack or the Scout Troop? Who wants to do the Scout Troop? Okay, Scout Troop it is. All right, read it and then I'll give you some instructions. Before we go on here, as you looked at this troop 100 or
1,000.
1,000, now you've looked at this troop, this is a pretty realistic scenario of troops that are out there. Are you all familiar with Commissioner Tools? Do you all have access to Commissioner Tools? Maybe you don't because you're an assistant scoutmaster, but you all have access to Commissioner Tools. So I don't have access to it because I'm not a commissioner. But I know how effective Commissioner Tools can be. I used it for years. I don't know how updated it is now, but I used it for years when I lived over in Tremont. As a unit commissioner, I faithfully recorded everything in there.
Was it what it was, UTS, wasn't it?
Huh?
You did a unit tracking system?
Yeah, that's right. All right, so now under this, what I've handed you a little sheet here on Commissioner Tools. Have you all taken that workshop on Commissioner Tools or going to take it? If you haven't taken the workshop on Commissioner Tools, you need to do that so that you know how to use it. Okay, and that's out of the way. Look, this piece of paper that I've got here is what it looks like in Commissioner Tools.
Yep.
So here's what I want you to do. You're all gonna have to gather around this table here, the 4 of you, and here's what I want you to do. I want you got about 5 minutes, 6 minutes to talk this over. I rate this troop 1 through 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the lowest. Rate it for each of those little areas there. And then you're gonna get up and tell, y'all work together here. And each of these areas, rate it 1 through 5. And then we'll know how we're gonna start working on this troop, because we're not gonna take the shotgun to this troop, we're taking a high-powered rifle. Okay, get together and talk about this.
I'll move around here. This is sometimes the hardest part of the evaluation, is any numbers and stuff.
Yep.
All right, P and R, do we have anybody in the committee at all that's doing P or P and D? What planning budget look like?
They charge the annual membership fee, which they hope, I saw that word, I'm like, hope, that's a bad thing to hang your head on. What else? They pay associated costs at the time of the event. There's no mention anywhere in here of a budget or a program.
Or, yeah,
I think both of those, you gotta have a program, then you can set a budget for the program, and I think both planning and budget.
they have a recruitment plan, I'm presuming what I'm reading here, they don't have a recruitment plan.
They might say, they need all the help they can get. But it says retains, so they did retain all the scouts, so they've got enough of a program that the boys stayed, and then they got 2 crossovers. They're not actively out recruiting, which in a troop I wouldn't see as, if they've got an active feeder pack or a couple of feeder packs,
Right.
then they're recruiting down into the packs and the weiglos, but more so than
But then you become dependent on that pack.
you do become dependent on. That's why, yeah, you need to also get the word out there.
I would dare say they're doing at least average on membership though.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's that they're not, it's probably average. That's probably where I put like a 3. And the planning and budget, let's come back to that.
I'm feeling a 1 on that one, but
I think they really need some help. They've got something going on. They're having meetings because the boys stayed,
it's true.
but not knowing more, just with what we've got, it's a 1 or a 2.
Okay,
That's what.
we need to break down that membership into 3 different areas though. We've got Weebles to Scout transition, it sounds like it's doing well, right?
They've got 2 that transition, so I think that's probably a 4.
But recruiting, we haven't recruited anybody, right?
True. No, we haven't done any.
So that's really like a 1.
A 1, because it even says they don't know how. Or was it they don't? I swear there was a place where it said they didn't even know how to go about.
Well, they are lost membership.
Yeah.
But
Or don't.
so retention, I dare say is fine. They've got all 9 boys, 9 youth still there, right?
Yes, you're right. They did do well. You're absolutely right. But the
Julie
building
or
is
somewhat.
Exactly. Could be product. Yep.
the recruiting meetings is probably the area where they really need that.
Yeah, building South Field. Okay, we have for advancement.
It sounds like they're moving as a group, but not. And the scoutmaster is running the show, so they don't have any individual scouts that are active.
Under advancement, asks achieve a high percentage of scouts earning rank advancement. Would we say a high percentage of this group is advanced? Given what we know.
They have advanced once, they all advanced in ranks as the troop was formed. 18 months.
Okay, you got about 3 minutes left?
I feel like 18 months, you should have more than one rank advancement.
Yeah, I think so. I'd probably put it maybe at 3.
3 or 2, because they're average or less.
Yeah. They're doing something, it's better than nothing.
Short-term camping, how's our camping going with the short-term overnight stuff?
Yeah. Every other,
Is it overnight or a week long or?
they went to the week long, then every other month with an overnight. I would say it's an outing.
In your opinion, is every other month an overnight outing average, better than average, worse than average?
I'd say it could be.
It's standards every month.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
so
The
it's-
Journey to Excellence and others, and to help them get cooking nights on the ground, need an overnighter once a month.
It sounds like our short-term
About
camping.
10 a year, basically.
Exactly, 10 a year.
Two.
For the year-round camping, we're looking at 10 months.
We're doing less than average on our short-term camping, it sounds like in this group, maybe reading it at a 2.
Yes.
Long-term camping, how many long-term camps should we have a year? At least one.
They did that.
You call that average, a 3?
In a long-term camping, they actually did do it, so that's probably a 4.
4?
Yeah.
Service projects, now we did do some service, I remember reading that.
One at the long-term camp.
That's
They didn't
way
do,
under.
That's one
and it says at least one benefiting the charter organization. If you read back up, there's some people in the church, like, what are we sponsoring this troop? What are they doing for us?
Right.
Conflict with the youth program. So I think the unit, that's a severe need,
Yeah, it is.
especially to benefit that organization.
Patrol method, we're doing the one patrol Boy Scout group with the Scoutmaster running it, so that's a 1, isn't it?
Yeah.
Training leadership, how's our training looking with this crew?
No, they're not trained, the leadership's not trained. Scout, they've done youth protection, that's about it.
White 15.
Well, the scoutmaster, I believe they said was
Yeah, the
position
scoutmaster
specific,
said
that was it.
The assistant scoutmaster has completed youth protection and is encouraging him to attend position specific. We don't know how long ago that assistant was recruited, so that might still be within the realm of where it ought to be.
So they're definitely not a 1 because they have something, but we're not even a 3 for an average, right? We're probably a 2.
Yeah.
So, because yeah, it says the committee chair, that means the rest of your committee probably isn't.
Somebody doesn't really have a committee much, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly.
You want an overall rating too, which are taking averages here?
Okay, you guys all finished? Did you get the last one, the volunteer leadership?
Yeah, we're estimating a 2, I think, on the volunteer leadership. 2. Yeah, we have some numbers.
Let's go down through the numbers and see if you guys all agree. How about planning and budget? What would you give it?
1.
Give them a 1. Why? Why a 1, guys? What about it? Why, Alvin?
They don't have the program, so they can't get the budget.
Good. They don't have a budget, right?
You can't budget the plan if you don't have a plan.
I see. So there you go. Give 1. All right, let's go on to the next one. Membership. You give them?
They've got a pack that they get boys from,
Yeah,
that's it.
that's
Not
it.
like they do any other retention or recruitment.
And if you're gonna get it out of the pack, what have you gotta do with the pack?
You gotta make sure the pack stays healthy.
You gotta have
Use your
a,
food.
yeah, you gotta have a good relationship with the pack. I don't know if they do or not.
So doing a top-notch job of retaining, it sounds like, they're doing a horrible job of building, and Weebles to Scout transition was better than average.
So building scouts, BSA, what'd you give them on that?
1,
And Weeble to scout transition?
4?
4.
Okay. How about the program advancements?
3. I mean, they
3.
all advanced in a rank, but in 18 months, because it says since the troop was formed, they advanced 1 rank.
You should have more than 1 in 18 months.
So they really should have advanced more than that.
So at this point, they're either scouts or tenderfoot. I'm not sure where they're at.
Mhm.
This sounds like the truth. All right, let's go on to short-term camping, guys. What do you give it for that?
2, because they're doing some, but only every other month, and every month is the standard.
Why? How about long-term camping?
I put a 4. So
The 10 scouts went
they went on. They
to a local camp, so what would you give them? Let me see.
We put 4.
Okay, a 4 sounds good. Service projects,
What's your project or?
a 1,
They only did 1 at the camp. It says there's at least 1 benefiting the charter organization.
And they haven't done that yet.
You know, I wonder if we should give them a 2 though, because if they've done nothing, we give them a 1. They've done
Yeah.
something, we maybe ought to give them a 2 on that one.
Yeah, but and 2 is still definitely in the needs improvement
Yeah.
range.
It's a
Okay.
generous 2.
Yeah. Mhm.
the patrol method, I think was kind of interesting here. Who is the patrol leader?
Scoutmaster,
Yeah.
which means this patrol method's not really happening.
All right, if you go to most, I don't say most, if you go to many troops now in our council, who is the patrol leader? At least in my district, I've encountered this over and over and over. It's usually the scoutmaster, at least the 4 or 5 that I've looked at in the last year in my district. Okay, so what would you give them for
I've
patrol?
got a scoutmaster who points out to one of the patrol leaders to get the things going.
Well, it was a start.
Care of after that.
So you give them a 1 or whatever it is for patrol method?
1.
Yeah, 1, because it doesn't feel like it's really moving at all.
And lastly, volunteer leadership, what would you give them and why?
They're doing something, I mean, the Scoutmaster's trained,
And the committee chair.
YPT's been done, so it's better than a 1, and we gave them a cautious 2.
Is that right?
We didn't know any, and the rest of the committee doesn't say anything, so we're assuming they're committee members and none of them are trained.
So these are things to consider. Well, your overall number of points for the troop, what would you give it as an overall?
Overall rating?
Overall.
I'd probably put it at 2.5, maybe a 3.
You guys agree with that?
2.3, yeah, 2-ish.
And so if you had to focus on one or two things to focus on, because we can't solve them all, what's the one thing that you think you ought to focus on? What do you think? What do you think?
Probably training, because that will open their minds to the other things that they need to be doing, which will be getting their youth trained, getting the youth in charge, moving the rank advancements along. They'll see the need for more camps.
Okay,
If I had to pick
how about
one,
you, Alvin? What do you think?
Yes,
Training,
training, yes.
I'd pick the planning.
planning and budget?
Planning budget, reason being said is not only is it gonna help both the planning and budget, but it will also have an impact on the buildings. It'll have an indirect impact, building scouts, because then we'll have a program to come to. And their short-term camping, if they're doing the planning and planning the camps in there, it's more likely to happen. So I'm thinking I need multiple birds with the stone.
Chad?
I go planning and budget, because in a nonprofit organization, who's handling the money is probably one of the most critical things to save yourself legally. So I think money can never be mishandled. That should be the first priority.
Okay, so we have 4 unit commissioners here, and you basically have 2 ways of going at it. I think there's nothing wrong with it. This might be a good way to go out with the budget and planning, and there's nothing wrong with having approach on training too. So you guys could approach training, you guys could approach budget and planning, and in 6 months, let's see where we're at.
Reevaluate.
And so the solution to this is go after what you're gonna go after, then go back and look at it again in 4, 5, 6 months and see where they're at.
Yep.
And I think whether you hit planning and budget or whether you hit training, you will begin to see an improvement in almost every one of these areas. And by focusing on one, you will improve the others.
Well, then I thought on you're asking us what we do. In the end, I would like to, this is a great conversation to have with the key 3, and say, what do you think? We have this tool to help us evaluate. We've gone through it. Now, what do you think is what we could
Very
focus
good.
on most to improve yours?
This is called the unit service plan, when you bring you and the key 3 into this conversation. We haven't talked about the unit service plan because we've been so rushed here, but there's another course on the unit service plan, and I encourage you to take that course, either this college or the next one, the unit service plan, because whatever you come up with, you have to have
A plan.
a plan, and the key 3 has to buy into it. You and the key 3, and they buy into it, it'll make it happen. I think that's your message to tell me to shut up. The last thing I was gonna tell you guys, don't forget this piece of paper. It's part of one of the most important things you'll do as a commissioner.
Keep it on the wall, right?
Thanks for coming, guys.